Ever feel like your career path should come with one of those like choose your own adventure things?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're diving into today, right?
Yeah.
With Marc Liron's career, because it does not feel linear at all.
And that's what makes it so interesting for our deep dive today. I mean, looking at his CV, it's really less about following a straight line and more about like recognizing how those seemingly like totally unrelated experiences can build a really unique and valuable skill set.
We're not just talking about listing hobbies here, right?
Okay.
This is someone who was a Navy medic and then dove into the world of IT, ran a catering business, became a 3D printing innovator.
You're right. It's not just dabbling. It's not just like, oh, I like to knit on the weekends. This is like Marc dove headfirst into each of these fields. For example, like his time in the Royal Navy. That wasn't just bandages and bedside manner. This is a guy who was leading teams, managing medical records, using, at the time, what was the Navy's cutting-edge patient administration system. Which is so interesting to me because it's like a very early version of what we just like take for granted now in healthcare tech. And at one point even found himself as the sole medic on a ship with 53 crewmates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a high-pressure situation.
Right.
Like, I get nervous if I think I'm going to be responsible for, like, a first aid kit.
Exactly.
Not the well-being of 53 people.
Imagine the resourcefulness that demands. The ability to, like, problem solve on the fly when you're out there, you know? And the leadership skills that you need to inspire confidence in those situations.
Right.
So it's no coincidence that these experiences kind of laid the groundwork for Marc's entrepreneurial endeavors later on.
Yeah.
Think about it. Leading a team in a high-stakes environment like the Navy, that translates incredibly well to leading a team in the fast-paced world of business.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, when you're talking about those transferable skills, do you think that, like, when he was, like, scrubbing in for surgery on the high seas, was he like, this is going to make me a great entrepreneur, you know?
Right. That's the beauty of transferable skills, is we often don't even recognize their full value until we're challenged to apply them in a new context.
Right.
And that's precisely what we see with Marc. Take his transition to IT, for example. This isn't a guy who's just fixing computers. He's designing websites, crafting training videos, even earned Microsoft MVP status for 7 consecutive years.
Wow.
Which is a testament to his dedication to not just acquiring, but also sharing his knowledge.
Okay. So I'm starting to see how the pieces connect here, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that experience with the Navy's patient administration system wasn't just about learning that one system. Mm-hmm. It was like this broader understanding of how to navigate and adapt to new technologies in general.
Exactly.
But then he switches gears entirely to manage a catering business.
Yeah.
That feels like a plot twist, even for like his adventurous career.
It does, doesn't it? But remember what you said earlier. Marc's CV, it's not just a list of jobs. It's like a reflection of his diverse interests and how he weaves those into his professional life. And one of those passions, as he puts it, is being a keen amateur cook with a love for French cuisine. So it's fascinating how this like passion for cooking isn't just a side hobby for Marc, right? It becomes like a core part of his career journey. And it's not even just about the food. As a catering business manager, he's drawing on those previous experiences, but like in surprising ways.
You mean like those leadership skills he honed, like leading a medical team, are now being used to manage a team of chefs?
Precisely. And remember those like financial management skills that we talked about that he developed as a GP practice manager, coming in handy again as he's navigating the business side of the catering world. It's like he's collected this like diverse set of tools and he can just like mix and match them to tackle any challenge that comes his way.
That's such a powerful way to look at it. Like building a career toolkit rather than just like climbing a ladder, right? Mm-hmm. But it makes me think, how can like our listener start to see their own experiences through this lens?
Yeah.
Like we don't all have like Navy medic on our resumes.
You raise a great point. It's not about replicating Marc's exact path, right? It's about understanding like the underlying principle here, transferable skills. Think about the roles you've held, the projects you've tackled, even like volunteer work or hobbies you've pursued. What skills did those experiences help you develop?
Okay, so I'm starting to brainstorm here. So like leadership, communication, problem solving, those are like the usual suspects, right?
Sure.
But what about things like creativity or adaptability? Those feel a little harder to like pin down.
They can be, but that's where like really examining your experiences pays off. Think about a time when you had to come up with like a creative solution on a tight deadline, or when a project took an unexpected turn and you had to adapt quickly. Those moments, however small they may seem, that's where you cultivate those like less tangible but equally important skills.
So it's like those like hidden talents we discover we have. Except these are hidden skills that we might not even realize we've been developing all along.
Right.
But then how do we take those hidden skills and actually apply them? Because like, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm great at problem solving. It's another to actually be able to leverage that in a new job or career path.
Absolutely. And that's where being able to articulate the value of those experiences becomes so crucial. Let's go back to Mark for a moment. Imagine he's interviewing for a position in tech, but his most recent experience is managing that catering business.
Right.
Instead of downplaying that experience, he can highlight how leading a team, managing budgets, ensuring client satisfaction in that fast-paced culinary environment.
Yeah.
That translates directly to the demands of the tech world.
So it's about connecting the dots for potential employers.
Nice.
Showing them that even though the industries might be different, the underlying skills are incredibly valuable.
Precisely. It's about crafting a narrative around your career journey that highlights the so what for someone who might not immediately see the connections.
Okay, so I'm starting to feel less like I need a GPS and more like I need a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
You know, someone who can take all these seemingly random experiences and like weave them into a compelling narrative.
And you know what? You already have the most compelling story to tell, your own.
Okay, I'm feeling very inspired. But before we get too carried away with like rewriting our resumes, there's another layer to Mark's story that we haven't even touched on yet. His commitment to service.
Ah, yes. It's a recurring theme throughout his career, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's amazing how that desire to kind of like make a difference, you know, seems to be woven into like every aspect of his career. It doesn't even matter like what the actual, like the specific role is. It's like, that's the through line that's connecting all these like seemingly really different experiences.
Yeah. It's a powerful example of how like our values can really guide our career paths, even when we're like, okay, I'm going to go explore this field now. Ooh, let's go check out what's over here.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what are the values that have been present throughout like your own journey? Even if the job titles or industries seem totally unrelated.
That's a really interesting question to think about. But speaking of different fields, we haven't even like touched on Mark's whole journey into 3D printing. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who went from designing the world's first 3D printed ink cartridge to like embracing cutting-edge tech like Web3 and cloud computing.
And let's not forget, this wasn't just a passing interest in 3D printing. He designed a functional ink cartridge, which requires a super deep understanding of both the like technology, but then also the practical application of it.
Yeah.
This speaks to his ability to not just grasp new concepts, but to like actually innovate and like push the boundaries of what's possible.
So it's like he's a walking example of the phrase lifelong learner.
Right.
Absolutely.
But for someone who might feel a little intimidated by like constantly evolving technology, it can be discouraging to see someone like Mark who's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to jump from this innovation over to the next one. Easy peasy. It's understandable to feel that way. But remember, even Mark started with a foundation of just being curious and being willing to experiment. You don't have to become like an expert in everything. It's about cultivating that mindset of continuous learning and being open to exploring new tools and technologies as they come up.
So instead of being like, oh my gosh, there's this new tech trend, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can this knowledge like potentially benefit me or the work I do?
Exactly. And you never know where that curiosity might lead you. It could spark a new passion, could open up these unexpected career opportunities, or it just might make you like a more well-rounded and adaptable professional.
Totally. And Mark's story really proves that sometimes the most fulfilling paths are the ones we least expect. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway that you hope our listener walks away with?
I think Mark's journey really reminds us that our careers, they don't have to fit into a neat little box, right? It's about embracing the unexpected turns, recognizing the value that's hidden in every experience, and having the courage to like connect the dots in our own unique ways.
I love that. It's about discovering that maybe, just maybe, we're all more connected than we think, and our own career adventures are just waiting to be written.